Hey guys, I'm Krista, and this is my big sister Stacey.
And this is Sister Social Call. Hey, sissy.
Hey sis, how's it going?
It's going great. Why don't you tell folks what's on the episode today?
Okay, well, you guys, we are going to be talking about something that both Stacey and I struggle with and what we are doing to challenge it. We want to talk about the scarcity mindset, but more importantly, our personal work around gratitude and abundance that we are trying to move towards. When I was out visiting, we had a little chit chat about this, and both of us feel that we live a little bit with this scarcity mindset. I think that we both experience it in a very different way. But what is a scarcity mindset? It's a scarcity mindset is a way of thinking that focuses on what is lacking rather than what is available. It is the belief that resources, whether money, time, love, or opportunities, are limited, and that if someone else gains, you lose. This mindset can lead to fear, stress, and decision-making based on short-term survival rather than long-term growth. People with a scarcity mindset often struggle with comparison, anxiety about the future, and difficulty celebrating others' success. It can trap individuals in a cycle of lack, making it harder to recognize or attract new opportunities. Shifting to an abundance mindset where possibilities and resources are seen as expansive can lead to greater creativity, generosity, and success.
I agree mostly with this definition in my personal life, but I don't have a comparison or competitive mindset at all. But I can see how money is something that I see a scarcity of it in my life. But it really isn't scarce in my life. And Christy and I will talk about that, I'm sure, about how you can make more of it or there's different mechanisms to save for it.
I don't feel comparison either. I'm rooting for everybody. Like, let's all frickin' make it in this world and do and be whatever we want and be successful in whatever way that is to you. To me, it's happiness. And so financially, I don't measure anything too much by money because I very much believe there's always more to be made. But the one thing that I do find, and I talked about this in my women's class a couple weeks ago, is that I constantly feel like I'm running out of time. It's not debilitating, but it's feel that so immensely that it's like something I'm very aware of, and I have brought it up a lot. So I've been thinking a lot about that this week.
I'm so glad you mentioned that you see scarcity in time, because I think a lot of people think of scarcity in the physical sense of assets. So scarcity of money, scarcity of home, scarcity of food. Those are obviously big factors of a scarcity mindset, but I'm so glad you brought up something that's not a physical, tangible asset, but time, because it is so precious and it is so fleeting. But I know you struggle because you have so many things you do that you love all the time.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, that I do fill up. I fill up all of my time with all the things that I love. This is an example. So I wake up in the morning and I think I got to wake up and I have to work out and I have to get to work and I have to get these kilometers in, and then I need to do a painting and read. And it's all stuff for myself. And we were laughing about this because I said, like, I always think to myself, when am I going to have time to myself? And it's all the things that I love. My scarcity mindset of time really is attributed to a couple things. And I think one is that when I was in my early 20s, I experienced a very traumatic loss in my life. I lost entirely my life at that point in time. But a couple people very close to me died. And then what was my life as I knew it was gone. And they were young in their 50s. And so I saw how quickly time can go. And so there's that experience. And then the other thing is that I was married. I was in a relationship for 11 years to somebody who didn't celebrate me. And so I gave up a lot of myself to be in this relationship. And so I find, for me, I'm afraid of losing that again and giving up that time. Mark has taught me I need to relax a little bit. Like, we've been together for almost 5.5 years, and we have a long distance relationship. And I always thought that we would probably be living together after a couple years, but it's really taught me just like slow down a little bit, enjoy the process, which I'm thankful for, because I Everything I do is urgent. I feel it's urgency. I live in this state of urgency almost.
We were talking about our first money memories, and this is a really interesting conversation to have with yourself, but also with your partner or some close family relatives, because they can illuminate probably some of your money tendencies with your first money memories. So my first money memory, and this might be hard for my mom and dad to hear, but our parents were divorced. And so money was tight. It was hard. And I remember my mom one time saying that we have no idea how hard it is to not know when she can buy another quart of milk. We had a lot of scarcity moments growing up, but my first childhood memory was the milk incident. Chrissy, why don't you share what your first childhood money memory is?
Okay, well, for our parents, this is not going to be easy for you guys to hear this because it is bringing up something from our past. And so I just want you guys to know that we love you, and we know that you both were doing the best that you could at that time with what you had and what you knew how to do. So we know that, and we're aware of that. But for me, one thing I really truly remember about our parents being divorced is that sometimes child support wouldn't get to us on time, and my mom would ask me to call my dad and ask for it. Consequently, my dad and I would be fighting, and there'd be yelling, and there'd be swearing, and it was just awful. Not something a kid should ever have to do. I think I was probably about 12 years old. And I mean, at that time, I was probably volunteering to do that. I was sassy. I was spicy. I was mad at the world. I was pissed off. But still, I should have never been involved in that transaction. That should have never been something I was a part of. And honestly, I'm thankful that it was just a moment in time. It didn't affect my relationship with either one of my parents in the long term, but it definitely affected my relationship with money, how I go about asking for it, how I go about making it, how I go about spending it. I definitely think that has a huge impact on that part of my life. I also will say though, I do remember Stacey and I getting our very first paycheck. That was one thing I remember. We were young and we had a flyer route. So there's a picture of us where we made our very first paycheck. So from a very young age, Stacey and I have always known how to make money and work our booties off. As you get to know us and our family, we are workhorses, and we will always work harder, more. We will make ends meet. We will work our butts off. So though we have some not so great memories as our first money memories, I do remember that where we were able to start making money.
Working hard is one of our strongest values in our family, if not the strongest. I mean, maybe love and respect for each other, but I do think our work ethic is definitely part of our DNA. One of the things that I'm doing to challenge my scarcity mindset specifically with money is actually just learning how to trust that my investment vehicles are going to do their job in the long run. This is a sensitive topic given what's happening in the world right now. My financial planner, Zana, is always like, stay the course, stay the course. And that's exactly what I do. I just have to trust that my investments, my pensions are going to do what they need to do. But it's more of actually the day-to-day cash flow that I can always freaking come to struggle with. And I don't know where to fix this problem. I've set up sub accounts. And if you're a regular listener, you'll know that at the beginning of this year was try and figure out how I can have this more of this abundant spirit. And I created a Christmas sub account because I figured out that in the last quarter of the year, that's when Sean and I do all of our traveling and when we have Christmas. So it's a very expensive time of the year for me. So I've been stocking money away into the Christmas account at the expense of my day-to-day checking account where I buy groceries, buy gas, buy cat food. And I'm just like, am I doing this right? I still don't know if I actually am, but I am happy to see the Christmas account growing, but I don't love what's happening between paychecks. It feels like it's living paycheck to paycheck, but all the bills are paid. Investments are made, and all of my sub accounts are topped up. But then at that point, there's not a lot left. I'm learning, and I'm just trying to trust the process.
I, again, spent some time thinking about this whole topic, and I'm absolutely terrible at money. So I went to the bank and I said, you need to put my money somewhere. I don't have lots of it, so be smart with it. I'm not a high risk investor by any stretch of the imagination. And I have tax-free savings accounts. And I've mentioned in another podcast that with my booking system at work, you can set up these sub accounts where they put this money away. That's been super helpful for me. For me, I think as opposed to focusing so much on the scarcity mindset, I need to have an entire shift in myself. And so consequently, I am doing the work right now. I am in the deepest time of healing I've ever been in my life. I've dug the deepest into the hardest shit I have ever even imagined. And I think by doing this hard work for me is what is absolutely going to change how I live my life moving forward. So, as I think about money, as I think about that scarcity mindset it's not just that one thing. It's infiltrated throughout my entire being. And so it's not just one mindset I need to focus on. It's the shift in me in my entirety. I don't want to live my life guided by money. I want to live it guided by my heart. So I really am trying to do the hard work and to focus on love and really what is truly important in life. And I believe with doing the work and putting my focus on what I want my life to be, then that'll change. And so I come from it from a little bit of a different angle than my sis, but that's what makes the world go round.
When I'm feeling the scarcity mindset creep in, I try to do a couple things, like practice mindfulness. I'm here, I'm safe in this present moment. I'm not harmed. Do I have enough right now? Of course I do. I have a roof over my head, food in my stomach. Another thing I like to ask myself is, will this matter in a year? This applies to many subjects in my life. It probably won't matter in a year. I won't even remember. So that's a really good way for me to check myself out of the scarcity mindset. And another thing that I like to do is a solid gratitude practice of recognizing what I do have, to realize how fortunate we are. I live in this beautiful community with nature all around me, fresh air, clean water. And those are the things that I want to dwell in much more than in a scarcity mindset.
I feel the same with you as well. Money is tight. And so I get that kind of anxiousy feeling I have this to pay for, I have that to pay for. My car cost me $3,000. I like to just kind of sit in that and be like, where do I feel that? And why am I feeling that? And then just kind of really pay attention to that kind of thing. And then also the same as you, just really focus on all the great things around you and the great things that you have. I think we are fortunate. We are homeowners, we have vehicles, we have jobs, we have food, we have a great loving family. We have more than most people as far as what's rich in life, as far as our family and love and endless support and whatever else. So yeah, just trying to think about that stuff rather than the negative things that can kind of creep into your brain. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but really, truly, yeah, we live in this amazing, beautiful world, and there's so much to be grateful for. Always, there really, really, truly is. I think we're pretty solid in that, as just how we live our lives, and I think we just generally are very grateful people, and we feel that. But sometimes we just need a little bit of a kick in the pants, because we can all go through those moments where we're down in the dumps or suffering a little bit more mentally than other times. And I honestly think that it's a very common mindset. And I think that a lot of people live in that. I think it's very common. So we'll be interested to hear from our listeners what their take is on all this and how they see it in their lives, because it can be so different. Some people may feel like they're never going to be loved again. They may feel that they are never going to be healthy again. So it can present itself in so many different ways. And so even us having this conversation with everybody and with each other about the scarcity mindset and being vulnerable about it, even just that in itself is already going to change for us how we feel about that.
Yeah, I think it's deeply healing.
I agree 100%. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like this is going to be a great topic to chat about with one of our therapist friends.
We got to talk to them and see who wants to come on and have this deep conversation with us.
Well, just the strategies to break the cycle in the brain for good.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Stacey, both of our Christines that we know would be the women that will say it's all about rewiring your nervous system. There is something very profound in that. And my Christine would say, cultivate what you want. Cultivate it. Stacey and I went on this hike last week. It was, I think, 4.5 kilometers. Well, it's like we brought up this topic, because we were like, what are we going to do on the podcast? And this topic came up. And here we just get blip, 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 blip. Well, the next thing you know, we're already back at the vehicle.
Yeah. This one we had a lot.
I love when we get talking.
Not that I want to like change gears, but we did talk about how like our gratitude practices like is one way that we break this. And I think that actually our peaks, pits, and plans is a great tool for like bringing gratitude into our practices. So maybe we should just move on to talking about our pits and our peaks and our plans to break our scarcity mindset in this hard conversation.
I would say that's a great direction to go to, for sure. That's why don't you start us off, because of, you know me, I just got rambling on my tangent. So
okay, well, pits. So Christy and I have had this conversation already. So last week when we recorded, when she was out here, my cat, got an injury. And if you know my husband, you know how much of an animal lover he is. He was absolutely devastated by the pretty quick turn of events from being a busybody moving around the house to not even being able to walk with her little, or putting any pressure on her leg. So he was absolutely devastated. He was actually inconsolable. He wouldn't even talk. He barely ate supper. Like, he was so stressed. And Chrissy brought this to my attention that it really impacted her visit with Sean. It did not impact our visit together. We had a great visit, but she comes out once a year and Sean had no capacity to be a good host. And so that obviously breaks my heart to hear that. Like, I just want Chrissy to have a great experience when she's out here. And me and her had a great experience. We went skiing, and I'll talk about all the peaks that we did have together, but it was heartbreaking to hear that, like, Sean's spirit, which was quite broken, was a little bit of a black cloud over her visit with him, that Chrissy didn't get that connection. So her telling me this makes my heart heavy, but I'm very grateful, sis, that you did bring it up, and Sean and I have talked about it, and I'm not sure what his actions will be, but at the very least, he's aware now that when we have company, and it's not to put on the airs of put on the show or anything, that everything's perfect, but to be a bit more present. And I think that that's important, is that to be present with our guests, because vacation days are so few and far between, and people decide that they're going to spend them out here, that we have to be mindful of that. So that was just my pit this week, but lots of peaks because Chrissy was here. That's a peak, that she was just out here. Skiing was a peak. Hot springing was a peak. Going for hikes and walks, that was great. This work week was pretty quick, and I didn't do a lot at nighttime. I just felt like I was editing the podcast, doing content. Like, the nighttimes seem to be not filled with a lot, just at home. Yeah, not a whole lot at nighttime. Plans for the week. Well, our friend Neil's coming out. He started his drive this morning at 4:30. He is like almost as bad as Dad for how early he leaves. And what time he'll get here. He'll be here probably, well, he said he's going to go for a ride before he comes. So I'm sure he'll be in the Invermere area by like, I don't know, 2:30 or 3. Because not only is he like Dad and leaves super early, but he's also a speeder. And he can do this drive much quicker than anybody else I know. So yeah, so Neil's on his way out. So that's fun. The boys will go mountain biking. I will probably get out for a good walk today because it looks like it's beautiful out. And then probably go for a hike tomorrow. So I'm stoked about that. And I am in the beginning of the spring purge. I'm so excited to be putting things in my garage, to either have a garage sale, to either put on Marketplace, to give away to my friends or family, or to donate to our thrift store. So I'm excited to do a purge again. It's kind of been ongoing because of with getting our new couch and moving some stuff around. That was like the impetus to start this process. But this weekend, it's our bedroom and our bathrooms that I'm going to get through and start packing for next week. Because next weekend I will be hitting the road to do a West Kootenays road trip. There we go. How about you, sis? Tell us your pits, peaks, and plans for the week.
Okay, well, this is going to be a fun little pits, peaks, and plans, because there's a little story I need to tell in this from my flight home last weekend.
Oh my goodness.
I'll do my pits, and I'll do this, and then I'm going to tell the story, because I think it's hilarious, and we can't not tell it, because I've been telling it all week, and I've been saying, but you got to listen to the podcast to hear the whole thing, because of course I don't want to be, when I get telling a story, she gets going.
I can't wait to hear what is going to be on the podcast that you didn't tell people.
Well, I was just going to tell in more detail. First of all, my pit was, well, my niece Kat having going to get her hair cut and then them doing a bad job. I didn't like that. And of course, like Yo-Yo, and then like Stacey alluded to, just like my visit with my brother-in-law wasn't as great. And the thing is that like Sean is like my brother. And I've told people this before. It's been on a podcast where I love the shit out of that man. So I just felt like I felt a little ripped off of my time with him. But that's okay. I know, I understand his love for pets, and that it's just, yeah, he was really worried about her. And, I'm thankful that he cares so much, because that cat, she lives her best life. So, but anyways, not a real big bad pit. But, oh yeah, and then another pit is that, yesterday where I take my riding lessons, the people that own the barn, they are on a safari right now. And so my lessons have been canceled for a few weeks, and I was supposed to be getting back to it this coming Tuesday. And then my instructor got a hold of me. He was like, "Hey, Krista, my regular riders want to start earlier. So, your lessons are going to be done." So yeah, I've done my riding lessons. So that's kind of a bummer. I didn't even have like one last lesson to get in on that. But Erin, my friend that has a barn, she said like I can come over anytime and ride. So that's fine. And I think that'll be good for me anyways, because I can practice what I've learned. But yeah, it was a short season for me. But anyways, okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys.
Can I ask a question before you move on to your story?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you need to go say goodbye to Jetta and the donkey and Jackie?
Well, because I'm gonna go over there and ride. I'll probably go Tuesday morning and just have a ride. Like, I just won't have a lesson anymore.
I see.
But I'll still be able to go over and ride whenever I want, because I basically trade hair services for like leasing Jetta. So I could actually like just go over and ride her whenever I want to.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was part of the arrangement. I just thought, how are you going to see Jetta and Jackie? I'm like kind of sad for you.
No, I can go over and see them whenever I want. I could just go over and take them treats if I want to. Okay, so obviously my peaks, you guys, was like going out to visit my sister. We had, as she said, all this amazing time. We did some photos. They turned out really, really good, and it just made me love being with my camera again. And I sometimes when I'm not taking pictures of flowers, I just put that thing down. All of a sudden, I'm like, here I go, I'm on to taking pictures again. So it was awesome. But we did all the fun things. Just yeah, skied. It's hot spring, and it was beautiful out. And we hiked a lot, spent lots of time outside. That's my favorite place to be. So I was like, let's get outside. And then we battled hard to record our last podcast. So that was a bit of a thing. But anyways, we kept our spirits up. I'm going to tell the story right now about, because these are parts of my peaks. So I'm leaving in Vermeer it was Monday. I was coming home, and we were going to head into Cranbrook early and do some errands. I was going to come with Stacey and just do some stuff. And we actually went for a hike on the way. We went up to the Hoodoos, hiked, came back down. Oh, I have a message on my phone from WestJet here. My flight's been changed. So it was supposed to be Cranbrook, Vancouver to Regina, getting in at about 11:30 at night or something like that. And my flight had been changed to go Cranbrook, Calgary, 7.5 hour layover in Calgary to Regina, home for 1:30 in the morning. So that's like 2 a.m., right? Because everything's late. And I was just like, oh, shoot. And so Stacey's like, well, look and see if there's any other flights. And I'm looking, and no, and whatever. Fine. I'm like, just take me to the airport, because now my flight is actually leaving an hour earlier. So it's a good thing we left when we did. So we get into town, we get to the airport. I check my bag and I ask the guy, do you know if there's any other flights available from Calgary into Regina? Because I'd love to not be home at 2 a.m. And he's like, all the rest of the flights are full. So sorry. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not even sweat about it. All good. Well, here I go check my email, and there's a $30 meal voucher. WestJet's paying for me to have a meal, and I'm thinking, oh, this is wonderful. Okay, well, I'll have a meal and I'll hang out in the airport for 7 hours. So we get into Calgary, and we get off the plane, and I look back, and where we came in, up where the TV is, like the monitor says that flight that just came in is actually going to be going into Regina. And just as I'm walking away, and I was actually going to go find my next gate, because it was like way on the other side of the airport, something inside me was just said to me, go look and go ask if they have an extra seat on that plane. And it was leaving at 5:30. So we got it, at 6:30. We got it at 5:30. So it was only going to be an hour. So I go up, and there was actually a girl in front of me who was asking the same question. And I thought, what are the chances? Well, I get up there and I ask, and sure enough, they have a spare seat on the plane. And so And I'm just elated. I can't believe it. So not only I've got a food voucher, but I'm actually going to be able to get home at like 8:30 at night rather than like 1:32 in the morning. So I'm pumped. So anyways, Katie, this is great. I'm texting Mom and Stacey. I call Mark. I'm like, oh my gosh. And my seat is 4D. Like 4D at the front of the plane. So I'm going to be off first. Everything. This is great. The only downside was that I had luggage and they'd already removed it from that plane to take it to the other one. So they didn't know if I would get my luggage or not, whatever. And I said, I don't care. Like, I'm going home. I'm not going on a trip. I'm going home. I got all that I need, whatever. So this is all fine and dandy. I'm going to be getting on this flight to go home. This is amazing. So we're boarding the plane. I go put my carry-on up in the overhead thing, and there's a guy that's going to be sitting beside me, and I had my phone, my boarding pass, and my ID in my hand. I gave it to him. I said, could you just put this on the seat for me? He's like, yeah, no problem. And he said, oh, you just heading home? And I said, yeah, you? And he said, yeah. And I just like, whatever. And so we get to talking. And of course, you know me, I have to know everything about everybody. So I can only see his profile. And so I don't know, like, I can't tell. I mean, he looks like every other kind of guy, whatever. So anyhow, we get talking. I go, oh, well, what's your name? And he says, we're going to call him Steve to protect his name and protect the person that he is. So he says, Steve. This is not his real name, whatever. So in my head, I think to myself, I wonder if it's that guy. And the guy that I'm thinking of, you guys, is the guy, if you listen to our love episode, is the guy I tell the date about where he talks about a naturopath and not being able to eat gluten and then goes and orders boneless breaded chicken wings. He's one of my worst online date stories. So it quickly flashes through my head. I wonder if it's that guy. And I was like, nah, there's no way. That guy was quite a bit shorter than this guy for sure. Anyways, he gets to yammering on more and more and more. And I just look over at him. I go, do you happen to have any kids? And he said, yeah, one son. And I said, is your last name blah, blah, blah? No, I said, what is your last name? And he says, blah, blah, blah. And I look at the head of me and I look over to him and I just burst out laughing. Well, I'm like, we went on a Tinder date many, many years ago. And I just couldn't stop laughing because I just thought, well, you know, the world gave me all of these beautiful gifts, like the getting home early, the seat at the front of the plane, the meal voucher. And then he laughed in my face and plunked me beside one of my worst online dating story dudes ever. So I got the pleasure of spending the next hour and a half having a conversation with this guy. And so, you know, he's right away saying, you know, I probably owe you an apology. And I'm just thinking, no, actually, dude, you owe me nothing. And I said that. I said, no, honestly, you owe me absolutely nothing. Like we went on one date and I said, but I will be honest, I nicknamed you the next best thing. And I said, and I told him a story. I said, honestly, because, and I said, you know, you really, it seemed as though you were always looking for the next best thing. And he said, you know, I probably deserve that title. And then I started laughing. I said, yeah, you actually went on to date two of my good friends afterwards, like go on dates with two of my friends. And I just, you know, I was like, I'm in this situation. I'm never going to see this guy probably ever again. And he took it like a freaking champ. And I was just laughing the whole time. I said, like, what are the chances? I think he took it like a freaking hero. But, and I could not stop laughing, you guys. Like when I get the giggles, I can't stop. And so I just giggled the whole way home. And anyways, he went on to tell me he's now since met somebody. And I told him about Mark. And like, I probably met Mark not long after we had gone on this one single date. And so anyways, and told him all about that. And, you know, he wished me well and said that, you know, like, sounds like life's really worked out great for you. And I said, likewise. Whatever, and take her easy kind of thing. But I just thought, oh, what are the chances? So anyways, our plane lands and I instantly text Mom and Stacey. Well, my luck ran out as soon as I got to my seat. And Mom's just like, can't wait to hear this story. So while I was waiting for my luggage that didn't end up making it, but actually WestJet delivered it to my house the next day. They brought it to me. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a super funny story about how the world just laughs. And in my women's group, very early on in it, we talked about how like sometimes you just can't take life so seriously. Like sometimes you just gotta laugh. And seriously, all I could hear was Christine, just her head saying like, sometimes you just can't take life so seriously. And I just giggled the whole way and thought, this is how it goes. Like this is how beautiful and how much of a joke the universe, like it's just a jokester, you know, it can be a bit of a jokester and you gotta embrace those really awesome moments in life. And it's given me great things to talk about all week. Like, it's been hilarious. So, and the guy said, so what have you been up to? And I said, well, my sister and I started a podcast, but I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him that he was the subject matter of one of our topics. But he did tell me that he's gonna have to have to listen to it. So we'll see.
Oh my God, I actually hope he does, because he'll find himself on episode 5 and now 14. So holy
Yeah,
moly.
it'll be funny. So there's my little story for you guys. I hope you laugh as much as I did. I spent an entire hour and a half just like giggling to myself, thinking, oh, this is so divine. The world is something else. Anyhow, so my plans for the week, I honestly don't have a whole big bunch. I'm actually going to head out to the farm as soon as we're done recording the podcast. I haven't seen Mark in a couple weeks, and I can't wait to see him and love him up and it's calving season at the farm right now. And so as of yesterday, there's been 8 babies dropped so far out of probably about 150. So we're just starting, and I'm excited to go hunt them down, and maybe I'll find some pictures and share some with you guys if I find some. And then I have my women's group on Wednesday. Again, we only have 2 more weeks left of it, and so I'm just really trying to take it all in and love it all up, and just work. It's a busy. It's springtime. It's busy at the salon. It's absolutely mayhem. So it's good, and that's gonna wrap it up for me. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for our podcast this week, sis.
Right on. So you guys can find us on Instagrams at Sister Social Call. You can find Chrissy on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. She has all the socials. And you can find myself, Stacey, on Facebook and LinkedIn.
I just wanted to say a big, huge thank you to everybody that's been listening. We've had some incredible downloads happening lately. The downloads are really escalating fairly quickly for us. I think we're getting close to about 700. And so that is awesome. We want to thank you guys so much for listening and for being a part of Sister Social Call. We are having so much fun. And Stacey and I, our brains are maxed out. Like, we have been learning so much about a lot of different things. Stacey, especially because she's doing the editing, but alongside her, I'm learning as well. And yeah, we just appreciate you guys being along. We are having so much fun. We definitely have a lot of different topics to talk about. If there's anything you guys think we should have a little chat about, or we inspired you in some way, shape, or form, please let us know. You can send us a message on our Instagram page. If you don't have Instagram, you can find Stacey and I, like, on the places we said, and just shoot us a message and let us know what's up and what you're thinking. And thank you for all the positive feedback. You guys are incredible. All your kind words are super, super encouraging and extremely inspirational to us. So we definitely have been loving all of it. The whole process has been great. So thank you so much for joining us on this journey, you guys.
Thank you, everybody. Love you, sis.
Love you, sis.